All right, everyone. Welcome back to part two. Here with Rachel Roberts, and I am the modern Merlin with Pagan Pages. We were just talking about, the idea of like star seeds and what wolf energy can do for star seeds. And one thing that, you had relayed, Rachel, and that I definitely identify with is getting caught up in these like dream worlds, if you will. I think a lot of people that are psychically in tune tend to do that. And I think it's because we're longing for a reality that isn't present here. It's one that I think we can see on the other side of things, but it's not what's here.
Mhm.
And maybe that's where the star seed idea comes from. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't profess to have all the answers. I don't think anybody can have all the answers. And anybody that says they do, they're wrong. Stop listening to them.
Mhm.
But either way, wolf energy to me has helped me not only find my power, find my strength, and put my foot down, but it's also allowed me to be more present, to stop worrying about the past, to stop worrying about the future, and just what can I do right now to make myself
Mhm.
happy, to make the world around me better, and to make the people that I care about happy. Um, and I think that's what people that if you do think you're a star seed, I think that's something that wolf energy can really help you with.
Mhm.
Kind of getting off of that topic, crystals is another very popular topic right now, and I know that you've made some crystal associations. Me personally, I've always loved labradorite, but labradorite just screams
Mhm.
wolf energy to me. Um,
Yep.
it just the different hues that it shines in and the different
Mhm.
energy, it just carries a mystical kind of energy. It's not, people are so obsessed with like moldavite and all these, fancy, and okay, fine, I have it too. But I think, Labradorite carries the magic of the earth. It carries an ancient magic that maybe it did come from the stars or maybe it's just inherent within all of us. Either way,
Mhm.
to me, Labradorite carries the purest wolf energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like um it has a great kind of protective energy, like the protector. So labradorite can be very much like a wall standing around you. It can like almost amplify that. If you're feeling like you need protection of some kind, I feel like nothing can get through it. That's the energy I kind of get, and that's why it connects. Yeah, I think to wolf. But yeah, like very like grounded kind of crystals, anything that's like of the earth. And I know they all come from the earth, but some allow us to connect to our upper chakras, but I would say it's those that connect us to our lowest chakras. It's the ones that are really
The
like
bottom
almost like,
three.
yeah, like almost like not heavy as in negative heavy, but heavy as in, you can really feel your roots going down into the earth. That's kind
Mhm.
of the feeling you want to get. Um, but I think crystal's an interesting thing because everybody kind of feels them differently. Like I remember going through a crystal healing, and everywhere she put the crystal on my body, I just wanted to like, I was very much awake because I just wanted to move it. I was like, oh, I need it over here actually.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that, yeah, I mean, I make a few suggestions in my books about different crystals that you can use, but I would go for whatever calls you, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and just, I mean, the wolves are happy to use any crystal. Like I said, that they're earth creatures, so they like working with all earth energy, and crystals are earth energy. I mean, even the ones that come through space. I mean, it's one of those funny things that people go, "Oh, well, it comes from space because it's traveled through space," and I'm like, we're traveling through space. Earth's traveling through space.
We're on a giant spaceship.
Cool in
I
space.
mean, yeah.
So I know that's
What
been
is
through
a
space, but
yeah.
we're going through space. So, I get that. I mean, I'm not a crystal expert. Is one thing I will say. I'm not at all.
Mhm.
It's not my speciality. So, um, find someone that is. I can recommend people that are. I just know what's worked for me. And when
Mhm.
I've been working with wolf energy, I know the things that have come forward, that um really, really resonate. So
I will
so yeah.
say a trend that I see in our spiritual community, or just generally people that are not traditional spiritual people. So whether you're a pagan, a Wiccan, druid, whatever the case may be, um, is that they speak of transcendence, and that comes from the
Mm,
Hermetic occult teachings. And that's all fine. To transcend and be one with deity is great, but you have to
yeah.
come back down. And that's what wolf is.
Hmm.
Wolf
Yeah.
reminds you that deity is around you all the time because wolf, in a sense, is deity. And,
Hmm.
it's transcendence versus incendence. A
Yeah.
book that I reviewed a few months ago called Alive with Spirits is about animism. And,
Hmm.
the author of that book spoke about transcendence versus incendence.
Hmm.
Incendence is planting your roots and being present here, whereas transcendence is trying to reach higher realms. You
Yeah.
can do both. Wolf
Hmm.
allows us to do both, but at the end of the day, Wolf reminds us, hey, you got to be here. You have to be here
Yeah.
now. And I think with the way that things are unfolding in the world, I think that's a lesson that people need to remember is, you have to be present. You can't worry about what's happening hundreds or thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to control that anyway? It's out of your control. You
Yeah.
can only control your actions moving forward.
Hmm.
Um, and then wolves also appear with other animals in nature and also
Hmm.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Some that are, I've mentioned crows and ravens. Those are very common. They,
Hmm.
the crow and raven are like best friends with wolf.
Yeah.
Especially ravens. Ravens really love wolves, and it's a beautiful relationship to watch. But even owls and wolves are starting. They've documented some interactions where the owl's up in a
Yeah.
tree and it just hoots at the wolf, and the wolf will just kind
Hmm.
of whine or whimper to it, and that's their way of communicating. Now we don't
Yeah.
know, are they drawing boundaries or what have you, but it just goes to show that even the animals you would think, wolf is an apex predator and owl's an apex predator in their respective areas that they hunt. You wouldn't
Yeah.
think those two would communicate. They would rival, but they actually do work together. um, and
Yeah, the whole of nature works together.
it has to.
It's completely interwoven. And
Hmm.
this is what our disconnect sometimes, in this attempt to kind of like to disconnect from our bodies or disconnect from our earth, actually sometimes feels like the wrong way. I feel like we need to be
Hmm.
connecting more, because we've come out too much out of our bodies. We're so much in our mind now with technology that
Hmm.
that a lot of people are like, oh, I've got a bit of pain, I'll take a painkiller. That's an escape. It's a moving away from it. And I know there's some really, really bad pain that people just need to escape from. But also, say you just got a niggly knee. Well, why is it in pain? We need to come back into our bodies so we can hear that signal, listen to it, and
Hmm.
what it's really telling us. What is it saying? And I think that's something that crow and raven working with wolf can really, one's above and one's below. And there's so many deities that work with both, Apollo, Odin, the Merigan, and they're all like gods and goddesses of wisdom, so they've got the above and the below. They're seeing from above, but then the raven calls down to the wolf and tells it, right, the prey is over there, the carcass is over there, go and do something about it. And the wolf then takes action. The wolf will go
Hmm.
and open it up, so then the crow can then come down and feed. So it's this communion, this collaboration that happens between the above and below. We're not one or the other. And when you're neglecting one, the other one kind of hasn't got itself apart. We need this balance again, this paradox we were talking about integrating.
Yeah, and raven and wolf or crow and wolf, they're the perfect merger of thought and action.
Hmm.
And it and to me it just kind of speaks to the whole idea of thinking before you act. So many people, I think, nowadays, we're expected to have a response instantaneously. We're expected to have the answer instantaneously because we can go on Google on our phones and type in da 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 and get an answer in like less than a second. but that's
Yeah.
not how humans work. And I think wolf and raven tell us, hey, slow down, think,
Mhm.
calculate, see things from the higher perspective, but also from the perspective on the ground.
Yeah.
And it is that perfect harmony and balance of the two that I think
Mhm.
Raven and Wolf teach us. Um, you know, I practice a lot of my magic at night. I am very much a nocturnal person. Um, and for me, Wolf and Owl are kind of the nocturnal counterparts. Owl
Yeah.
sees things from a higher perspective, but Wolf is still down on the ground. And,
Yeah.
Owl also has that more celestial connection to me too.
Mhm.
Owls, represent like Athena and, all these other different deities that have this immense wisdom,
Yeah.
and at the nighttime, owls carry the wisdom of the nighttime, and wolf is
Mhm.
carrying the wisdom of the earth. So, in a sense, to me, raven is the daytime,
Mhm.
owl's
Yeah.
the nighttime, and you have to
Yeah.
embrace both.
Mhm. But even when working
Um,
with, raven and crow, like, or owl, any of these predatory birds, they always have to come down to earth to feed. Their food is at the ground. And for me, that's kind of like, that's about the embodiment. So we can have all this knowledge in our head. Our head can be full of facts. We can go on 20 courses and we know it all, but it doesn't become wisdom until rest on hair. It doesn't become it doesn't become wisdom until we embody it and we actually experience something. Like when I first started teaching dance, I knew all the techniques of the dance. I knew it in my head. I knew how it was meant to look. I knew the numbers, etc. But it comes to like 18 years of actually physically doing it. I now know, when my student is like, I can't do this, I can know why because I've made the 10,000 mistakes in that 18 years that they're going through. So I think that, like I said, the birds always have to come down to feed, and that's a metaphor. They're coming down to earth, earth being the body, coming back into experience, embodiment to actually integrate and transmute that knowledge into wisdom.
mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Knowledge is one thing, wisdom is the actions taken upon that knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that's another important distinction that these animal guides can teach us.
Yeah.
Um, so,
I think
have
that's also
you?
important as, oh, sorry,
Oh no,
I was
go
going to
ahead.
go off on a tangent. It just made me think of something. I was just thinking, like, like sometimes it's like that. Like, I'm an historian, I've got a master's in history and heritage, you know, and you kind of get two levels of things, the academia, and then you get this experimental thing as well. And it's this point where they come together is our practice because, it's like, I remember saying something about Hel, who's one of the goddesses I work with as well as a wolf energy. And someone was like, oh, well, that's not in the prose Eda. And I was like, but I've experienced that with her. I know that book says that because that man wrote that about his choice of tale, but I've also experienced something else with her, and that is valid. And I find this sometimes like people approach me because I'm Welsh. So like, oh well, is this actually true about the Welsh goddesses? Like, can I even connect them because I'm from wherever? I'm like, yeah, like
It
you
doesn't
totally
matter.
can. Like it's like that we can go to two extremes. It's like, it has to be like, like I felt that when I was writing my book on Roman mythology, and I felt like every single paragraph I was quoting some bloke who was wearing a toga 2,000 years ago. And I was like, okay, how do I make this relevant then for a modern woman? Because, and it's not like just Ovid was correct, and because he's a man and an old man, he's the only man that, his only way of doing things. I was like, no, I can feel something and I can bring it through, and that is valid as well. It might not be valid for other people, but there's also its experimental side that comes through from you know that is important. I don't know if I'm getting my point
Mhm.
across.
No, I totally understand. As writers, as writers, it's important that we have to make the distinction to the people that read the stuff that we write.
Yeah.
This is from UPG, unverified personal gnosis, or this
Yeah.
is historically speaking accurate. And I
Mhm.
think that's an important distinction to make because, again, pagan practices are a little bit of historical academia and a little bit of personal practice. And,
Yeah.
you combine those two, it's a great, wonderful thing for the individual practitioner, but sometimes the claims sound just blatantly outlandish. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if others believe it as long as it's necessarily been working for you, and there is a fine line between UPG and delusion,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That's true.
the delusions are pretty easy to suss out. I would definitely say, there are a lot of people in certain pagan communities, and I'm not going to, say, oh, it's all the Norse or it's all the Celtic or the Roman. It's in everywhere in the pagan community, but I see it a lot in certain traditions
Mhm.
specifically that if it's not in the Prosita or the sagas, it's not valid.
Yeah.
What? I mean, the gods and goddesses change like we do. Human
Yeah.
values 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 years ago are vastly different than what they are now. And
Mhm.
I think the gods, just like people, change to reflect that.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, I would definitely say there has to be a blending of the two.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't have a master's, but I have two associate's degrees, and one of the majors was history, and it's something that again, I study history very passionately. I find a really big interest, and I think that there are two extremes. There are the pagans that just go off the walls with UPG, with no research into the deities themselves, the mythologies, what's factually kind of known about them.
Mhm.
And then there's the ones that there's no UPG, there's no experience, there's just what you read. And I I,
Yeah.
I really think Wolf again teaches that embodiment of both. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, One last thing I wanted to kind of bring up. I am
Mhm.
a poison path witch, and something that I have come to find with my journey is, I use a lot of what are called entheogens, and for those that aren't familiar, I have a column on that stuff, but basically it's a natural substance, a plant that expands consciousness. So this can be anything from cannabis to psilocybin, amanita to the nightshades. Um, One particular poisonous plant that I found that just does not jive with wolf energy is unsurprisingly wolfbane.
Mm.
Um, if you look at the mythology or the folklore associated with wolfsbane, it was meant to drive away werewolves and vampires, because in Eastern Russia or in Eastern Europe, they were associated with each other. And
Mhm.
that's, been retold now in Bram Stoker's Dracula and all the various vampire stories we have now. Um, but regardless, I think there's a truth there. It drives away the bad wolf energy. And I think again, it's that stigmatization of the wolf is coming to hurt you because they did hunt. They have attacked humans, but were they put in that situation? Probably, where they had to. They felt they had to. Regardless, though, I there are plants that seem to, for me, resonate with wolf energy, and there are ones that just simply don't. Uh, Wolfsbane is one of them, obviously, but Datura is one of them that I have found works exceptionally well for
Okay.
wolf energy. And this is kind of something that I've been experimenting with sacred dance is using these entheogenic substances to kind of take the barriers down, to just
Yeah.
lose your self control, and not in a bad way, but in a way that turn on your favorite song and just dance. It
Mhm.
doesn't even have to, one of the and I'm going to be frank, one of the songs that I first tried this was Closer by 9 Inch Nails. Now, was I feeling particularly raunchy at this moment in time? Absolutely
Mhm.
not. It's just it's got the beat, it's got the the feeling to it that I wanted to just lose myself in it.
Yeah.
And you know, datura works just as much on the mind as it does the physical body. It can lessen pain, and again, I
Mhm.
think datura to me is one of those poisonous herbs that is about embodiment of the physical body. You know, belladonna is about the shadows, and you know that can kind of take wolf energy too. But datura for me has been a big wolf energy herb. Um,
Yeah.
as much as wolf is about shadow work, it is about finding your power, following your heart, trusting your intuition. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing that I've taken away from working with wolves and wolf energy is embodiment, just
Mhm.
embodying yourself. And datura has been a wonderful plant ally for that for me.
Mm.
Have there been any specific plants that have worked for you? And they don't even have to be, you know, poisonous. I realize that's not for everybody, but you know, there are other plants out there that can help. What specifics have you
Mm.
found?
It is interesting what you say about the poison, though, because like Apollo being the god of healing and disease, in every poison is also often the cure and is often a medicine. So, they take tiny bits, don't they, of like foxglove, and it can actually be exceptionally healing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
poisons in big quantities. So again, it's about, the light within the shadow and the shadow within the light. They're never one or the other. It's always both, and that's interesting. So there's a few that I think really resonate. I mean, I work primarily with flower essences, so that's the
Hmm.
spirit of plants. Um, I've never taken psychedelics or anything kind of that alters the state of reality. Like I've never felt I needed to. It's just not
Hmm.
on my path. It's just not my um I just don't need
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, and you
I mean,
know
you
that's
know,
fine. There's times where I
yeah.
don't even need it. You know, there's times where you can just break into it. But
I know that's the thing
yeah,
is I think I always think sometimes I'm probably too close to the edge. I can go off in a trance just listening to Ramstein in the kitchen while I'm cooking. I don't need
it's so
anything
easy.
to
Yeah,
take me there. Um, I can get
Rammstein
like
is good trance music, by the way.
yeah, yeah. Actually Ramstein's been very healing for me. Talking of music, but like
Do you speak German?
I don't. I have no idea what they're
Okay.
saying, but
Oh, see,
the
I speak German, so I listen to Rammstein, and I'm just like,
yeah,
if you were able to understand the lyrics, this is just totally
yeah,
aside from our conversation. If you were to listen to their lyrics, oh, um, you know, the topics range from BDSM to,
yeah.
you know, killing a lover and just all this craziness in between. But at the end of the day, it sounds really good.
I think that
And
there's something though that
their music also to me, you know, German. Not to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, sorry.
You know, German is kind of a guttural language, and I think that it resonates with those lower chakras.
Yeah, it's
And I
very
think
grounded and
Rammstein,
spiritual.
and I think Rammstein in a way speaks
Mm,
to the shadow aspects of self.
yeah, yeah. I always like felt that it like for me when I like to perform to heavy metal with my belly dancing. I always feel that it always activated my solar plexus, and like with the Rammstein, I found that there was one move. It's like sorry, I always tell my students they look at me like really, but there's a one move that I just could not get for years and years and years, and it was like the bane of my existence. Like it just like I just why cannot I cannot do this move? And so one of my tutors at the time was like, just go on, just put some music on and don't think about it. And Ramstein was the music that it happened to, and I had this moment of connection with it where I was placing my feet into the ground, and my feet were going beyond the level of the earth. They were like going deep down, and I think that's where some music, even if you don't know what they're talking about, like a lot of my students they don't know Arabic, so they don't know what they're dancing to, but they can feel it. They're like, "Oh, this is definitely a love song." Like, you have that kind of energy, don't you? That's there to
Mhm.
things, and It's the same with music and plants, I think, as well. You don't even have to know, you don't have to justify things with this knowledge. You just have to trust that your body knows, that you have this other level of intelligence that can teach you, you know. Um, so just to pull back off that tangent, I just went off, I created as for us. Um, yeah, so plants. So there's three that come to mind that I'm going to share about now. Must be something about three tonight, magic threes. Um, so uh, oak tree essence. I find the energy of oak really is like father and grandfather wolf energy. It's like really kind of grounded, protects you. So, oak tree essence is for when you're kind of feeling overwhelmed, like the world around you is a bit like chaos and you just need deep roots. You need to tap into the earth and just like, the energy of oaks is just, they're so strong like that. Ancient, it's always father energy, even when it's a female oak tree. I feel like kind of that archetype of father there that is like the wolf energy, and that it is the protector, the guardian, that surrounds you, that goes all the way around you. Um, the other one is borage. Well, I call it Boris. It's a personal joke. It's like, oh, it's Boris. And then I've, they're probably not funny to anybody else, but you have blue borage and white borage. I call them Boris and Doris. But anyway, um, just a funny thing I like to do. So borage is really the flower essence of courage, and courage is a huge lesson that wolves teach us. About
Mhm.
again and being grounded in the earth, and then bringing forth that fire on behalf of ourselves and behalf of what's right and on behalf of good, and to be of service. So borage kind of gets you past all those places where you're feeling like I can't do this, like I just can't, and it's been one of my biggest lessons, like one of my favorite quotes, absolute favorite quotes. It was I think a Roosevelt actually said it. um you know Courage is not the absence of fear, but the belief that there is something more important than that fear. That's what
Mhm.
borage is all about. That's what wolves are all about. It might be really scary to embody the predator. It might be really scary to go into the dark woods. It might be really scary to love fully and completely and be vulnerable and be open. But there's something there that's important. There's a reason why you're doing it. There's that
Mhm.
motivation of fire. There's something that you have to do it for, and borage is going to help you access that, the reason why you're being courageous. You're not just doing it for the sake of it. And it's an interesting thing, like the way that courage is different to confidence. Like, I feel like I'm a very courageous person, not necessarily confident though. I feel they're very different things, as in like confident is like, oh yeah, I can swim, I know I can swim. Courage is like just you just fling yourself in the deep end because you have to. you
Mhm.
know Whereas they're slightly different. um and I think courage possibly is more powerful. That's what keeps us going, that's what keeps us going to the end. Whereas
Mhm.
confidence can waver and come and go, courage is that, like, I have to do this and I will do this. And
Mhm.
then the other flower essence, the final third one, I feel is marigold.
I love
uh
marigold
cal-
essence.
yeah, calendula.
Mhm.
um and it may seem like a pretty delicate plant, but it's all about the throat chakra. It's about
Mhm.
our words and how we say them, the words we choose. We were saying before about anger. There's a way I can express myself where it's not going to cause harm, but I'm still getting my point across. Like you could try to tell somebody something and you're screaming and shouting, and they're like, I don't even know what you just said because that was just a whole lot of angry words. It's a way of
It goes
saying
in one ear,
something.
out the other, exactly.
Yeah, and our body language and everything, there's a way of saying things, and there's a why of saying it. So, like, and I share my wolf book, sometimes some things aren't appropriate. So if, say, you had a baby, you wouldn't rage and shout at the baby to tell it to go to sleep. You would make your voice really gentle. And it's the same thing, like, when we're talking to ourselves, how often do we look in the mirror and go, "Oh, you're so stupid. You look awful." Like, you wouldn't say that to a child, so why are you saying it to yourself? There's a way of talking. And it might be you might still feel that you have to say, "Oh, you're really stupid right now," but maybe there's a way of saying it like, "Okay, I understand why you did that, but it's coming from your place of trauma." Okay, yeah, you were a bit daft right then, but that's okay. We can work on that. Or there's something that
Hmm.
maybe we could see in that. There's a way of kind of talking, and Marigold helps with that. With like, are these words appropriate? Do I need to say this right now? Where's this voice coming from? Is it my voice or is it someone else's voice? Am I just repeating what someone else has said? You know,
Hmm.
so they're my three that I think work really well with wolf energy.
Okay. So I guess I'll finish with you know, giving two more poison herbs since that's kind of more
Oh yeah.
my practice. So I would definitely say Datura. Belladonna is just kind of a catch-all for me. Belladonna, she seems to just kind of like to be on, go along for the ride with whatever's going on. My third one, however, it's not as poisonous, but it's actually Artemisia or mugwort.
Mm.
Um, so I do not drink mugwort tea. It tastes horrible. I guess if we're going to consider cannabis in this, cannabis would be another one. Cannabis is just a master healer, in my practice. But if you mix, cannabis and mugwort, it can give you prophetic dreams. And mugwort having that lunar association, for me with Diana and Artemis, I'm a moon child. If I practice astrology, like I've said, and my chart's ruled by the moon with my rising being Cancer. So of course I'm a moon child,
Mm.
and I want to howl at the moon with Artemis and all of her friends from nature. And um, mugwort does kind of have that same energy. It's just much more gentle than Belladonna would be or Datora would be. Um,
Mhm.
that's just kind of been my personal perspective is when I feel like I don't need the intensity of the poisonous plants, sometimes it can just simply be, oh, pack up some Damiana and some mugwort with your cannabis, and there you go.
Mm.
That's all you need. Um, and if we look at ancient cultures throughout the world, they've done similar things.
Yeah.
Those would be my top three, I would say.
Mm.
Um, I'm starting to get into the flower essences, like the Bach flower remedies and all that. Actually, right
Mm.
now I have the Rescue Remedy sitting right next to me. I love that stuff. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Um,
But I love that, everybody is so different. We all have different pathways, and you'll find that when you're working with Wolf, the people listening to this, will see even just the differences, between the ways that we're connecting through different plants, through different crystals. There's not just one way, and there's so many wolf deities and so many different archetypes that you could embody. So if there is anybody that's being like, oh, I don't really know how wolf is going to fit for me, there will be a way, there will be something that does work for you. Maybe it's
mhm,
something that we've mentioned, but it could be something else, And I love the fact that you really connect to the what kind of the moon deities, and that you've got a rising sign that's with the moon. That just interesting. And I was thinking, gosh, my rising sign is Libra, So for me, that's probably why the courage and the justice part is
mhm,
is really kind of resonant. Just made me reflect. I was like, that's interesting. It just reminded me, just like we're all so different, and it's so important that we are different. Because
mhm,
what
and that
you
we
say is
embody
going
it.
to land. Yeah, for someone, you can teach something and by your example, and I can teach something by my example. And we're all offering like different things at the buffet, aren't we? That's
Yes, we are.
amazing.
And I have a Scorpio stellium. And for those that don't really know a whole lot about astrology, a stellium is just a grouping of three or more placements in one sign. Well, I've got six in Scorpio, including
Oh, wow.
Pluto. So, I've got that Plutonian energy in me too, which
Yeah.
kind of harkens to the Lupercus and the darker wolf energies too. And it's
Mm.
been a balancing act. and it still is a balancing act of, do I embrace the dark moon or the light moon? And it's
Mm,
very much learning the phases of yourself. And I think that that's another thing that, next time there's a full moon coming up in I think like 2 weeks now. Just go howl at it. Just let it loose. That's what I do. And
ow!
exactly. Anybody that wants to connect with wolf energy, all you have to do is howl. That's all you have to
Mhm,
do. It starts there and it can keep going as far as you want to take it. Um, you know, to close, I think that it's kind of fated that you and I talk because we both have that strong connection with Lupa. And something that has really popped up for me is finding my pack. And it's not the
mhm,
family you're born into, it's the people you choose, right?
yeah,
And I think that for me, that's kind of the thing I want to close this interview with is it's finding your pack. It's fine to be the lone wolf and it's fine to go do your own thing. Um, but at the end of the day, the wolf has to return to its pack.
yeah,
And I think finding those people that share a lot of the same values with you and believe in you and want only the best for you. I think those are important people to find right now because the world is so divided and there's so much hate in this world. I think not only should we embody each other's differences, but we should also find commonalities with other people. And,
mhm,
not just and I mentioned earlier, your pack is your chosen friends, your chosen family, but also we need to look at the world as our pack, not just each other as humans, but also the
mhm,
animals, the cat that's on the couch next to me.
mhm,
You and I and the birds outside and the trees and the grass and all the plants, they
yeah,
are all connected. And Wolf realizes that. And I think Wolf wants to bring that lesson forward to people
mhm,
along with other animal guides like owl, like crow, like raven, like bear, and serpent and all the other different animal guides out there. Um,
yeah.
if there is one thing that you feel Wolf really wants to get across to people right now, what would you say it is?
Mm. I think all that you just said about courageously being your difference, being what is unique about you, because every single member of that wolf pack is needed. You are needed. You're here right now on this planet for a reason. Like, there's no mistake about being here, and there's nothing wrong with you at all.
Hmm.
That I think we have to remember that. Like, but we're always trying to fit in, and how can I adjust? How can I kind of just how can I be the like you may see another pack and you're like, right, I have to be different to be in that pack. Maybe that isn't your pack. You will find your pack. And when you find that pack, it also means that that pack that you didn't resonate with, they are not wrong either. They just weren't your fit, because like you said, we're all part of this pack of humanity. And in our own little individual packs, there's no one that's better than the other. There's no one that's wrong and right. You just have, your lane and you stick in that lane. Um, but the thing is you're not going to find your purpose, your destiny, your pack, your fulfillment unless you be you completely and fully and explore who you are, because who are you going to offer if you don't know what you is? So the invitation is always to come deeper into yourself, to embody yourself more, to integrate the paradoxes and the polarities within yourself, to know thyself so that you
Hmm.
can be of service, so that you can offer yourself. um, so yeah, go run wild in the woods, have a howl and enjoy it.
Exactly. There's so many memes about, witches going in the forest naked and screaming at the moon. I mean, honestly, Wolf had it right. That's what you have to do. Just go in the woods and scream, howl, whatever you have to do. Let it out. It is okay to be frustrated. It is okay to carry anger with the way things are because, to be honest, things aren't right. There are good things going on, but there's also some things that need changed. And at the end of the day, Wolf shifts our perspective from just ourselves to the people around us, to the world around
Mhm.
us. And it allows us, I'm very much an animist and believe that everything has a spirit within it. And wolf to me allows me to embody that fully. And that when I see a fox or a rabbit or a squirrel or a cat or a dog or a bird, or I go to the zoo and I see wolves, you know, I am part of that just as much as they are part of me. And I think that embodying that consciousness is kind of what wolf wants for us right now. I think we've become far too disconnected. Things like social media, the internet, while they can do wonderful, great things, they've also disconnected us greatly. And
Mhm.
it's again, it's this dichotomy, this paradox of, you and I are across the pond from each other, and here we are having a discussion. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, how much time do we spend on our phones connecting with people instead of going to, a bar or a coffee shop or a bookshop and meeting up physically with people there? And
Mhm.
COVID really brought that about too, I think. I think we're starting to see the ramifications of isolation and what it's doing to people's mental well-being. And I think wolf is coming again for a multitude of reasons, but to find that connection with other people again.
Mhm. Yeah. Working as a team.
Yes, yes, instead of further dividing ourselves, coming together as a pack, the pack of humanity, the pack of earth, and finding the problems and taking accountability like we've talked about too. Take accountability. Okay, fine, we did wrong. X, Y, and Z were wrong, but we can also
Mhm.
fix it.
Yeah.
So I don't have any further questions for you, Rachel. I think we've
Whew, covered it
covered,
all.
yeah, we have covered so much. Holy cow. Um, so I want to say, I think I saw you hinting at another book coming out soon.
Yeah, so I have another book coming. I don't know when. It was supposed to be out this autumn, but it's not. So my next book is Pantheon the Romans. So that's an exploration of religion in ancient Rome. So I go through the 12 principal deities, and then how the ordinary people and how the priests, how they practice religion, the origins of religion in Rome, back to the Etruscans, the Sabines. So that'll be out at some point. Of course, features some of the dwarf deities are in that. And then I'm currently writing a book. I don't know if I can say who it's
Yeah, don't get
about.
yourself in trouble.
No, but it's about a Roman goddess.
Okay, okay.
And it's all about sensuality and connecting to the earth. So that's currently been writing. So, like today, I spent all day researching aphrodisiacs in ancient Rome and finding what asparagus can do for you, which was very enlightening. So, I will be going and eating some asparagus for my dinner now and seeing the effects, finding out what happens. To be continued.
Well, I look forward to both books. The Pantheon, the Pantheon books. I've read the Egyptian and Norse ones that are out right now
Yeah.
through Moon Books, and they're wonderful. I mean,
Yeah, they're
Morgandindler,
bringing
Robin
out
Hearn.
loads more.
Yeah, I saw
Greek's coming,
Irosanya.
Welsh is coming. I'm doing the Roman. There's Minoans. So yeah, watch this space for
Yeah,
them. Super exciting.
yeah, yeah. It's so exciting. All these wonderful, perspectives that are so not brand new, but it's kind of ditching the and I don't want to offend anybody by saying this, but the catch-all approach of Wicca, where they would call Celtic and Roman deities in the same circle, which maybe that works sometimes. There was a historical overlap, but we're
Yeah.
starting to see things kind of go back to their original source, and that's really exciting for a lot of us, I think.
Mhm.
So definitely looking forward to those books.
Fabulous.
All
Oh,
right.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for talking with me, and I hope we can get together again soon.
Yeah, that'll
Continue the
be good.
conversation.
More
All
howling.
right. Yes, yes. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and have a good, wonderful evening, day, whenever you're watching this.
Bye.
Bye.